I mean, I think one thing that we all found is that when you look at it sort of on the macro scale, it's sort of devastating and depressing, and yet when we would speak to individual Puerto Ricans or, some of these communities, right, where they were sort of taking charge and rebuilding stuff themselves, and then I think that did give us a sense of hope, of like people are really sort of stepping up and taking charge.
It was amazing, the silver lining that they constantly found. Like, we would run into people, they're like, I don't, have a roof, but I have 4 dogs that I love. You know what I mean? And we all left there thinking, I need to remember this. I need to remember to stop complaining. It didn't last long. I won't swear, complaining about the weather for 24 hours. I'm from Canada. Like, I shouldn't, what am I complaining about? But, when you think about...
It's supposed to be spring. I'm with you on that.
Right? Yeah. Come on. Let's just break that down right now.
I was not excited about this. And I was also not excited that everyone was going, it's another nor'easter. And I had to be like, it's just snow. It sucks, but it's not like a big deal.
But the people of Puerto Rico, like, so many things were happening to them, and we would run into these situations, and they were still finding so many positive things about what are happening in their lives. And the one thing that I kept hearing is, the communities all came together. Everybody came together. And it was really beautiful.
Sorry. One night when we were there was a power outage while we were there. I'm going to be real. I was already drunk at this point in the evening. It was quite late. The power went out, and they go like, oh, we got to rush out and interview people about the power. And I was the only correspondent around, so I went out just hammered. And we ran into these 2 guys who were also quite drunk, and I, asked them, what do you do when the power goes out? And they're like, oh, we just barbecue instead of using our stove. And this guy, like, pulled out his phone and showed me a picture of his barbecue, like, covered in lobster and steak and whatever. And it's just like, you invite everyone in the neighborhood, and you have a party, and you barbecue instead of using the stove, and you bust out the wine or whatever. And, like, they were in the city, and people who, were well off and could do that. But everyone you talk to is just like, oh, the power goes out, you throw a party. You don't have this, you ask your neighbor. Like, they're just helping each other and, like, not just like surviving but thriving. And for some people, I think they never expected the government to help in the first place, so they just knew that, like, as a community, we're going to have to come together and throw laundry parties or feed people, and that's just what they do.
I was going to say the same thing. We had a blackout, and we all freaked out for like 45 minutes. I just immediately went to bed. I was like, I'm going to have a deep sleep because there's no outside light. But they have parties all the time, and they seem to just be very, like, compared to New Yorkers and Londoners, like, very they just celebrate all the time in a way that we don't. Like, me and Ashley had the afternoon off, and we were just wandering around, and we just found a street party, and there's like all the generations just having a nice time because it's Sunday. And when they vote, everyone votes, and they have parties to make you vote, so it's just like a fun thing. And that culture, it feels like that's a personality trait as well. Like, if you to generalize about everyone you met, you'd say they are really, like, strong, wise, like, relatively happy culture, and we just whine all the time. It was really, it was really amazing. Not that's a patronizing thing to say. Like, they're also, a lot of people were really angry, but they handle it in a way that
it's the way they handle it. Like, we were shooting a piece in a comedy club. I was producing Mike in something, and we had this whole narrative planned, and the power went out in the first 10 minutes of the show, which wasn't part of our script. That's not how we wanted the story. But then we looked at each other and were like, wait a minute, this is amazing. The audience starts cheering. The women, it was their closing night on the stage. They went down to the dressing room. They popped some beers. Everyone was laughing. The way that they handled it, and responded was amazing. And the audience was like, yeah, we'll just come next week. It's totally fine.
I've never done an interview simply by cell phone light before. We literally were all holding up our cell phones so that we could talk.
Yeah, and then we just kept thinking of ourselves, how are we going to get home? Our flight's going to get canceled? It's terrible.